honored to have Ellis Rosenberg, Managing Director of FiscalNote, who's going to speak to us about this company and their ESG data products. Ellis is a business-savvy, mission-focused leader with over 15 years' experience creating innovative programs to successfully deliver on social impact and revenue goals for companies and enterprise nonprofits. With his entrepreneurial spirit, Ellis excels in taking strategic initiatives from conception through go-to-market strategy development to closing high-profile complex deals. His end-to-end project management skills and experience in both entrepreneurial and matrix organizations enables him to successfully build cross-functional teams and develop strategic partnerships with diverse stakeholders. Ellis's broad background also includes healthcare and technology experience across a wide set of functions, ranging from government affairs to corporate affinity and industrial partnerships to B to C program development. Ellis established AARP's hearing care program, meeting the needs of 10 million members with hearing loss, drove exceptional financial performance for Nextel in a program that was highlighted in several of the public company's annual reports, and established breakthrough e-commerce partnerships with Walmart. He holds an MBA in marketing from the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania and a BS in psychology from the University of Maryland. And it's a great pleasure to have Ellis Rosenberg.
How's everybody doing today?
Great.
Okay, so we've heard a lot of great things, and this was not coordinated at all, but you'll see common themes. First, I want to say that it's great to be back on a college campus where I'm not doing a college tour. I've got two kids, one who just graduated from the University of Maryland. She wants to change the world because she's in journalism and public policy, double degree with a minor in Spanish. And my son, who is looking to go into college next year, is looking at business analytics. As you think about this and what you came here to study, no matter what the reason, no matter what the major, it's going to be impacted by what we're talking about today. You know, the dean started out saying that no matter what major you're in terms of business or even outside of business, this is a generational, transformational event that's going on. So who here remembers the time before there was one of these? Okay, so maybe a few of you lived in that time. Way back when, I worked with Nextel Communications in the 90s, the millennium. What happened was really interesting. The government had made a change and said, well, let's generate revenue by selling off the spectrum. And that prompted huge amounts of investment, which then propelled a completely new set of capabilities and transformed how we live. It's kind of what's happening today. You asked about Sarbanes-Oxley, right? So that's, if you're keeping track on the ESG bingo, that was a word I was looking for, because that also was transformational. There's a regulatory change that mandated a certain functional and operational reporting. That's exactly what we're having here. It's just a question of how it's going to happen and how long it takes to happen, but it is going to happen. You mentioned, Tom was here, and I don't know if anyone saw the reference to Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah.
Okay. I was at the gym the other day, and I saw this guy named Vivek Ramaswamy on Squawk Box, and he was talking about the letter that he had sent to the CEO of Chevron saying, stop ESG, it's a waste, etc. When there is this backlash, that really indicates that there is something significant and transformational going on, because then you generate opposition. He also talked about how government investment in technology can drive social change. That was the whole theme about what was happening with what Kennedy and Johnson were doing with where they're making their investments. So my point here is that this is something that is going to be very broad and very cross-cutting across multiple areas. Brad talked a little bit about the role of the Chief Financial Officer. You heard a lot about risk management. We'll talk about that. I want to also talk and thank Jason for mentioning the word marketing. I was a marketing major. And so, are there any marketing majors here? Thank you. Here's my prop. Have you seen this? It says box water is better. It says sustainable. Instead of plastic bottles and aluminum cans, we were made from 92% renewable materials, mostly paper. Even the cap is plant-based. So here you go. Packaging is now as a differentiator for ESG. They're talking about that. So It is everywhere. So let's go into my presentation. I actually work for a company called FiscalNote. Anyone heard of that company before? Oh my God. Okay. The reason why is we just went public 2 months ago as a tech unicorn in this market. And so the company got its start way back when in the state of California, in Silicon Valley, where 3 guys, Asian American gentlemen who met in middle school, decided to form a company to change the world. And they wanted to take complex, regulated spaces and make it more visible and transparent for consumers to help governments be held accountable. Think about what's happening here. It's the same thing. They started out with government affairs and issues management. Along the way, after the past 9 years, they raised several $100 million in venture capital, went public, and they purchased a company called Equilibrium. Equilibrium was a Singapore-based company that had developed a software platform to keep track of things ESG, all types of corporate performance. Because I think you heard some of our other speakers, it was, I think it was Brad, that said some of these companies are now having their executive teams paid on ESG performance. And when you pay someone, the next question the executive asks is, show me where the data is coming from. If you can't show where the data is coming from, you're not going to get the change. So FiscalNote, we are a company that has a set of ESG solutions from software, which we'll talk about, but we also have a tremendous other set of solutions here. So FiscalNote got its core start in the issues management space. That's public policy and issues management. We're also the owner of CQ Roll Call. So in terms of a company that decided to go and acquire similar assets, so covering federal and state and local issues. We also do geopolitical intelligence. We help government affairs engage their audiences through grassroots advocacy. And we also keep track of tremendous amounts of data sets through some of our subsidiaries. So it's a collection of companies. We do 2 things. We solve the problem of helping companies understand what is happening and then understand what to do about it. And so the Equilibrium platform is really the second type of question. It's around workflow management. So my part of the conversation here is a view of a company that has a history of technology to solve complex enterprise issues and basically help improve workflow management. So it's a corporate story. This is something you probably have seen everyone talk about in terms of how ESG is going to impact both operations and financial performance. It wasn't called out directly, and I'm going to call it out for you so you see it here. You will change how companies operate when you change how leaders are paid. How many times do we hear the word risk? Risk management, risk mitigation. That's a business issue. Human capital. Diversity, equity, inclusion equals social impact, equals why people go and stay at a particular company. It's your talent and your ability to address the unmet needs in the marketplace because you represent the marketplace. Regulatory compliance, SEC, etc. You have to do it. And supply chain. It's an opportunity for companies to go and to tell their suppliers, we can make life easier for you instead of making life difficult for you. So ESG is hitting all different aspects of operations, and financially, it's driving growth. It's driving the investment decisions. One of the speakers talked about debt and the cost of debt. If you're able to demonstrate you have lower risk, you should be able to get financing at a lower cost. Market share and competitive advantage. And brand perception and equity. So the marketing guys got to talk a little bit about this. It's a strategic communication for how you're able to drive and influence your customers and your key stakeholders to drive market share where others are not making the move. It's an opportunity for you. It's your brand equity, and it's also business resilience and continuity. You're talking about a topic where there's lots of data and there's lots of regulation, and the board is watching. If you can't keep track of this stuff, it's going to be a problem. The space has changed dramatically. So a decade ago, was it a decade ago? Yeah, I was at a course at Harvard Business School talking about creating shared value, and they were saying it's time to move beyond CSR. Does anyone know what CSR stands for? Corporate social responsibility. Translation, philanthropy. Let's give money away, right? So it's more than that. It's what's the impact of that money? How are you transforming? And Dean, you mentioned this correctly, right? You've got government and corporate and consumer alignment. So you have a win-win-win, the triple bottom line. So we move beyond CSR to do carbon accounting. But it's not just carbon accounting, because then all of a sudden you've got Black Lives Matter, DEI. That's part of a company being current, because that's driving, essentially market share and supporting what today's generation expects. And then the solution evolved beyond all ESG to ESG risk management, which is what's the cost of not making the change? What if you don't do this and your competition does? And we help companies follow all of that. So let me explain a little bit more. When companies are thinking about ESG, it is really a cross-functional enterprise conversation. Why is it? Because you have data. You need data to make data-informed decisions. That, you need to have the opportunity to visualize that data. You need to make sure you're compliant. You need to make sure you're delivering on stakeholder relations, and you're boosting your brand. Failure to do this is essentially risk, right? If you're not making good decisions, you're missing market opportunities. You could be at risk from a litigation perspective. You could have a takeover at the board level from an activist investor, and you can lose your market share. So how do we solve the problem? Unify. So instead of having all this data in different databases, why not put it into one space? Think about what happened from back to sales and marketing before Salesforce existed. How did sales professionals keep track of their data? Where was it? Excel. If you're lucky, before Excel, where was it? In your notebook. Back when I was a sales professional, I had these things called index cards, okay? It was a tickler file, okay? Crazy. Paper. Well, that doesn't make any sense, right? What we are doing is essentially what Salesforce did for sales actions. We're doing that for ESG actions. Keep track of everything in one spot. That solves for business continuity. Improve auditability. If it's in one spot, you can actually find it. We talk about the great resignation, right? People are leaving. What happens if that intelligence walks out the door? Where is it? Save time. I think, Jason, did you mention this? Or maybe I think you did, in terms of companies are spending lots of time doing this. The average large cap company spends 6,000 hours per year doing ESG reporting. The majority of that is, where's the data? Is the data right? Where's the calculation? Who did this work? Where's last year's stuff? If you can put it all in a central repository and access it and make the entire enterprise be able to deliver against it at the cost of, let's say, the average hourly wage in corporate America, I'm making this up for easy math because, again, I'm a marketing major. If it's $100 an hour and you can shave off 2,000 hours, anyone? How much is that? $2 million, thank you, Jeff. So the cost of software is a lot less than $2 million annually, I'll tell you. And so you'll also hear a topic in the sustainability world of let's do less of the reporting and do more of the doing. And so if you have a very resource-constrained sustainability team and you can automate and shift some of this data capture and data reporting and benchmarking, you're going to be able to have greater impact on actually doing the change. So get ahead. If you have your information organized and you're able to perceive what's going on with other companies, you can actually see strategic opportunities. Also, you've got to keep track of the regulation. It's changing all the time. And so having a technology solution that can quickly monitor that for you, perhaps using AI, and bring it to the top for what's important is critical. And finally, scenario planning. What if? What if we're able to reduce our scope 2 output by moving away from the national grid and going into solar? How much would that take? So what's the investment of those types of projects? What type of return will we get? So this is a quick overview of what we do at FiscalNote ESG. This is our benchmarking heat map. And so let me explain what we're doing. So it's an opportunity. What we do is we have a company that essentially is an AI entity, and we have a database of 2 million companies, and we go through, and what we do, if you look at the top, it says sentiment. So what we're doing is we're using NLP to score publicly available articles against 26 SASB themes across E, environmental and social and governance, and to rank those articles for everything from negative, slightly negative, neutral, slightly positive, or positive. Then what happens is the system also evaluates the impact of that particular topic on that particular company. Here you've got Toyota, Tesla, Ford, and GM. Toyota is the client. They want to know, and they pick Tesla, Ford, and GM in terms of what's happening for them. This creates a heat map where you can see number of exposure, number of documents. Those are articles that have been captured by the AI and are available for the users of our system to see at a moment's notice. And so you can determine, okay, what's going on with Tesla and their diversity, equity, and inclusion? And how is our company positioned more favorably or not? So having access to data through AI that humans could never get and read and organize and score, have that on demand is a strategic advantage. And it helps manage the risk. It helps in the ESG storytelling. And it certainly helps provide the rationale for how are we doing compared to everyone else, which are questions that the board asks and that senior leadership asks. Okay, so technology can increase visibility into your industry and guide your actions. It can make sure that you can keep track on a regular basis of what's happening from your risk perspective and where there are opportunities. You can also use this technology through AI to do a deep dive into your supply chain. Imagine the suppliers are saying, yeah, everything is great here in Malaysia. There are no issues at all. If you use the AI and you find out, oh, there seems to be some type of corruption scandal, it's a way for you to go back to your supplier and say, what's going on? Which makes the supplier much less likely to try to provide you some different types of data. So it improves your supplier management. And it just cuts through the noise. This is a time saver. Who's got the time to go do this research? No one. It doesn't get done and people just don't know where to go. These are topics that you heard about again. It's not just financial. You'll see, gosh, you see capital, but there's not actually the word financial, right? It's human capital and it's social capital. Of course, it's the environment. But this is driving innovation and leadership and governance. Every member of the board of directors is going to care about this because it talks about the risk for the company and the financial outcomes. And as you can see here, it cascades into various corporate functions. And so everything that you do in ESG is going to impact all aspects of your corporate activity. And so as you think about why you came to college, one of the reasons probably is to get a job. Hopefully, that's, as a parent, that's what I hope some of you are thinking. When I was in college, you're looking for something where you can feel passionate, that you're making a difference, that resonates with you, but also maybe there's a growth opportunity, right? That there's enough opportunity for you to get hired and to have a contribution. That is exactly what we do with ESG, and that's why it's really an opportunity. If you look at the circle here, think about everything that's going on and the different types of opportunities, both for business as well as careers. This is a generational opportunity for you to make a difference and to grow a business. And we feel it's an opportunity for corporations to become more transparent. And back to it was the people, planet, and profit. It's a triple bottom line. That's why I'm doing this. I went through technology and I saw wireless as an opportunity to significantly change how we're all working and have a chance to essentially change how people live, work, and play. I was at AARP because I understood that you can't just focus on money, you have to focus on social impact. And specifically here, we haven't really talked a lot about health. Before I moved into my role, which was December, so it's not even a year, I read a story that was published by the Lancet and republished in the Washington Post was a study from the WHO that said the majority of healthcare outcomes are going to be caused by climate change. Who knows what percent of the GDP healthcare is in the United States? Yeah, 19-20%, right? So it's the biggest, right? It's also one of the most challenging for consumers to understand. It's obscure, okay? So if you care about healthcare outcomes, ESG is actually something that you should get involved with because it's forcing companies to be more transparent. And if it doesn't happen naturally, the SEC will make it happen from a regulation perspective. Finally, who cares about social? Who cares about DE&I issues? This is actually companies that are now reporting and telling the story, and they're going to have to do so across a common set of rules. So if you care about those topics, this is ESG Space is great. That's really it. Any questions? I got you back some time, Jeff.